Hey, well, I hope you enjoyed lesson 1 of Columbus, and hopefully you see that our history is just full of adventurous stories. So we left last lesson with Columbus and his men seeing their promised land for the first time, and of course they are ecstatic. They're not going to die. They have seen land, so they danced and they sang on the when they saw the land, and they rounded the corner, so they actually came around here, and these little islands were where they first stopped. So they're just, as they're riding along here, they're looking for a place that they can actually anchor their boats, because there's a lot of rocks and everything. And so they're just looking at the lush green land that they're coming to, and it's beautiful land, and they're so excited. And so they all go put on their nice clothes, because they're fixing to meet their new land. So they put on their armor, and Christopher Columbus puts on his red cape, and because he is now deemed the admiral of the sea. And they get as close as they can, and then go through the water, climb into the sea, and trudge through the water. And when they get to land, they just bow down and kiss the ground, because they're so excited to see land. And of course, Christopher Columbus is first. He hits, his first one to put his foot on his new land. And right behind him is his brother, whose name is Pinzon. And he is carrying the banner, the white banner of Spain, which is a white sheet with a green cross, and it has Queen Isabella and Ferdinand's symbol on it. So he is claiming the land for Spain, and he calls it San Salvador, which means Holy Savior. And there they prayed. They knelt and they thanked God. And this is Columbus's prayer. And I'm going to change the thous to you so you can understand it better. He prayed, "O Lord Almighty and everlasting God, by your holy word, you have created the heaven, the earth, and the sea. Blessed and glorified be your name, and praised be your majesty, which you deign to use us, your humble servants, that your holy name may be proclaimed in the second part of the earth." So remember, he thought he was in India. Little did he know he was being watched by the inhabitants of the land, which we know as Indians. And so they thought they were gods, because here these white people, I mean, they're not white, come out with this, with armor on. So they thought they were made of metal, and they thought they were angels or aliens or whatever. They had no idea. But when they see them get up and dance and sing and laugh, they think, okay, well, at least they're nice and friendly gods. I mean, they're happy gods. So little by little, they started coming out of the woods and just standing and letting them see that, hey, we are here. And so Christopher Columbus got him, called him over. And they don't speak the same language, but everybody knows sign language. And he was amazed he wrote in his diary that, these are the most beautiful people. Their skin is bronze. They were butt naked. But he noticed how cut and how muscular they were. And he said none of them have a stomach, and they were very handsome. And they were tall. I think of Indians as being short for some reason, but he said they were very tall. So maybe they were the short ones. And they were very friendly, even though they couldn't talk and or communicate with one another. And so they'd never seen a sword, and so they reach out and touch it by the blade and cut themselves. And so, he realized they were just very childlike and very trusting, and they had never had an adversary. So this is what Columbus wrote in his diary. "I believe that they would be easily made Christians, for it seems to me that they had no religion of their own." Well, they did. O Lord willing, when I depart, I shall bring back 6 of them to your highness, that we may learn to talk, we may teach them to talk our language. This is what he wrote back. I'm sorry, this was not what he wrote in his diary for Queen Isabella. So that was his first mistake, that he thought he owned them and that this land was his land because he found it and he found these people on it and they were his. Well, no, that's not at all how God works. So his second mistake was he noticed that they had golden earrings in their ears, and so he started trying to question them about, where did you get those gold earrings? And they kind of showed him through sign language that it was down south, in an island down south, and there was a very wealthy king that had all this gold, and he drank out of gold, and he wore gold all over him, so they're going, this sounds good. So they spent time there, and then they took a few of them to go look for gold, because gold is a real deterrent from the Lord, the love of money. So on October 26, they left for what the Indians called Cuba, which, we still call it Cuba. I'm going to show you so they're leaving for Cuba from these little islands that they're in. And they are thinking they're in Indies. So Marco Polo had told them all about these people that wore clothes and had these temples and gold and, all these wonderful things. Well, all they find is beautiful parrots, just the sounds and the smells of the rainforest and how gorgeous it was. And Columbus said, I could live here the rest of my life. It's so beautiful. But he's looking for gold. And in his defense, he wanted to make enough gold to send back to Queen Isabella to pay her for this journey that she had financed, and to give them enough money to win the total crusades against the Jews and to take over Jerusalem, which we know that Jerusalem is never going to be given to anybody but the Jews. But they didn't understand that. They just thought the Jews were the enemies of Jesus, so they're their enemies. So his heart was right in a lot of ways, but the way he went about it, if he had a mandate from God, but he never stopped and said, okay, God, what's my next step? Lead me, what's my next step? How do I need to think? Because we can get in our head what God wants us to do and then go and never stop and go, okay, now how do you want me to do this, God? And that's kind of how Christopher Columbus did this. He had a mandate and he was going to do it, his way. Every time they got to an island, they would erect a cross and they would name it something that would honor Christ and change the name of it, but they were on their pursuit of gold. And he brought us several of the Indians along with him that he'd met on that first island, and they told him, finally started communicating with him, that the place that they were looking for was called Babique, which is like barbecue without the R, and that there was gold nuggets on the beach, and so his brother, all right, so Columbus is in the Santa Maria, and his brother is in the Pinto, and then the Nina is behind them. Well, his brother all of a sudden takes off. I guess his guides on his boat said, we need to go this way to the gold. And so they just had gold fever. So he just mysteriously leaves. And Columbus is not happy with that, but he keeps on going and following what his guides are telling him. So on December 5th, this is 1492, Columbus tried to make it to Babique, but he was pushed back to another island, and the natives called this one Bohio, like Ohio with a B. But Christopher named it Espanola. And then they traveled east along the island, and they're seeing how beautiful the mountains are. They're purple mountains, majesty. And on Christmas morning, God had a present for them, but it was not wrapped in the wrappings that they wanted it to be wrapped in. But the rudder of the Santa Maria broke, and the whole ship keels over, and the sails are torn, and it's beat up on the corals, and it's gone. And what seemed like total disaster ended up being good because they had to stop at that island, and the people were so friendly and so nice, and they brought them in, they housed them, they took care of their stuff, made sure that nothing got stolen from them. And this island was an island with gold. They found gold masks, bracelets, necklaces, gold rings, and they had enough to take back to Spain for the queen, and that's what he wanted, to do. So they were so thankful that they named the settlement. Columbus decided, okay, I'm going to leave some people. These people are great. We can live with these people. So he left 39 of his men from his boat there, and he named that island La Navidad, which means the Nativity for Christ. And he, with 38 of his people, so him counting 39, they left to go back to Spain to take six of these Indians and this gold that they had found to Queen Isabella. So they're doing good until they get to about right here. And actually, this really happened right here. So all this up and down was a huge storm. And they thought they were going to die. Before he did this, I forgot to mention, as he was leaving, going to Spain, he runs into the Pinta, his brother. And, they have sharp words, and his brother comes up with all these excuses why he left him. But they end up, Columbus forgives him. He is, after all, his brother. And they travel back to Spain to take this gold and take these Indians back to Spain. And they get to that place where there was all the storms, and it is so bad that they lose sight of the Pinta. I mean, it's lost. So God has a way of bringing revenge on who he needs to bring revenge on. But anyway, and they're in the midst of that storm for days, and it doesn't look like they're going to make it. And I mean, when you're faced with death, you start promising God everything. And especially if you don't know him, which Christopher Columbus did not really know God, or he would have known that you just ask God, he'll help you. But instead, he's promising him that he puts 39 beans in this jar, and one bean he puts a cross on it. He goes, we're going to put this in the jar, and everybody's going to draw a bean out, and the one with the cross, he is going to promise to make a pilgrimage to some saint when they get back to Spain. Well, they did this 3 times, promising to go to 3 different pilgrimages, and every time Christopher drew the one with the cross on it. Okay, do y'all remember the story of Jonah when he was in his storm and the men were going, what is it? They're fighting for their lives. It looks like they're going to all die. And finally Jonah fesses up and he goes, y'all, this storm is all my fault. And they draw lots, and it falls on him. And that's when he confesses that this is all my fault. I'm running from God. And if you'll just throw me overboard, I promise you the storm will die down. Well, they liked him, and they didn't want him to do that. But he goes, I'm telling you. And the storm got so bad, they finally threw Jonah overboard, which God prepared a fish for him because God had a mission for him. So you would have thought that Columbus, if he knew his Bible, he would have known, okay, but the reason why I keep drawing this bean is because I'm the problem. But he didn't get it, and God mercifully got them out of that storm, and they end up on the shore of Portugal. And as they get there, all the people from from the shore have been watching them because they almost capsize. It looks like they're going to hit the rocks and die, and the people on the shore are just praying for them and hoping that they don't. And when they finally hit something and they go through here and it's smooth sailing, everybody is on the shores yelling and going, yay, yay, you made it. So that is, let me make sure that I don't have anything else that I want to say, but that is lesson 2, the end of lesson 2. And next lesson, we'll take up from there and find out what Queen Isabella, actually what King, because he lands in Portugal first. I will tell you this. He lands in Portugal first, and so he's going to see the king that had told him, I'm not going to send you. This is ridiculous. And he tells him his story, and he's like, he doesn't know whether to believe him. So Columbus brings forth one of his Indians and says, draw with these beans, the same beans that he had thrown, everybody had drawn the lot. He said, take these beans and draw the islands for us. And so that Indian just draws the picture with the beans, uses the beans and draws all the islands that are out there. And he's like looking at that. Well, so then he just kind of messes up the beans and goes, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So he calls forth one of the other Indians. And he says, okay, you arrange the beans. Will you arrange the beans for me? He arranges the exact same formation as the first Indian had. And then he's like, oh my goodness. And he is so sad that he is not going to get anything from this because he refused to listen. He wouldn't listen to Christopher Columbus, and all the fame of this new land and all these islands it was lost from him because he wouldn't believe. So sad for him. Happy for Queen Isabella. She's going to get all the gold and all the glory for founding those islands in her name. So, sometimes you just got to ask God and see what he wants, because sometimes he'll tell you, many times, all the times he'll tell you, because God talks to his children. So may you be blessed today. I pray you have a wonderful day, and hopefully you have gained some insight about Christopher Columbus and America. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.